Department of Homeland Security has recently experienced a number of troubling cases where trusted insiders have carried out violent acts or have been arrested for having unauthorized weapons at work. A DHS employee was arrested in early June when he was found carrying a gun inside DHS headquarters. I know the case is ongoing and the individual's intent is not known, but the case does raise serious questions. The public court documents definitely raise concerns that he may have intended to, quote, commit an act of workplace violence. Yesterday, there was another case at DHS headquarters where a contractor was discovered with a gun. If reports are accurate, this is the second case in a little over a month of employees discovered through random checks with weapons. I know the witnesses will agree this requires immediate attention by the Department to protect its workforce. And in May, an officer with the Federal Protective Service System murdered his wife and several other people. The subcommittee is holding this hearing to review DHS's Counterintel and Insider Threat programs. With over 100,000 employees holding security clearances and significant responsibilities for the country's border, cyber, and maritime security, DHS represents a prime target for the intelligence collection efforts of our enemies. Unauthorized disclosures of classified information, whether deliberate or unwitting, represent a significant threat to national security. The very nature of modern communications and the reliance on electronic data storage and transfer, as well as DHS information sharing leadership role with state, local, and tribal partners, adds complexity to the challenge and requires thoughtful programs to educate employees to mitigate the threat. The subcommittee wants to hear how the Department is developing robust and holistic counterintelligence and insider threat programs to defend against threats both virtual and physical. We also seek to examine the partnership DHS has developed within the agency and across the government to leverage best practices. We must determine what actions the Department can take to prevent these threats by proactively identifying and intervening when necessary to protect DHS, its workforce, and the country. And I want to thank our distinguished panel for being here today. Your input is very valuable in showing the benefits of strong counterintel and insider threat programs extend beyond DHS, but to the workforce as well, by preserving security and safety and allowing DHS to fulfill its vital Homeland Security mission. And with that, I recognize the ranking member of the subcommittee, the gentleman from New York, Mr. Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank Chairman King for holding this hearing. I would also like to thank the witnesses for participating in today's hearing. Many of the issues that come before this committee are and have been mainstays in the public discourse since the terrorist attacks of September 11th. However, the security clearance process and protection of our classified networks and information arguably did not become permanently affixed to our national and international security conversations until May 2013. That is when we learned that former NSA contractor Edward Snowden leaked the details of classified programs to the British newspaper The Guardian. The sheer volume of the information shared by Snowden brought many issues to the forefront of our national security conversations. Since the leak, Congress and the public have questioned if an outside contractor should have vetted his security clearance or it was a duty that should have rested squarely with the hands of the federal employees. We have questioned if Snowden should have had access to such sensitive information in massive volumes. Then, later that same year, we learned that the same firm that vetted Edward Snowden also vetted the Navy Yard shooter Alexis. On September 16, 2013, Alexis, a civilian contractor, opened fire at Navy Yard here in Washington, D.C., literally within walking distance of where we sit today. In the subsequent investigation, we learned that Alexis failed to disclose information about felony charges, and a federal personnel report had no information about his previous arrests. In May of this year, a Federal Protection Services employee, Officer Tordell, who had held a TS and SCI clearance since November 2015, shot and killed his estranged wife outside a high school in Maryland. Then later killed 2 more people outside a mall and grocery store in Maryland. All of these incidences have raised concerns that we will discuss today. Had a strong insider threat program been in place, NSA authorities would have been alerted to massive amounts of information being transferred by Snowden for public distribution. Continuous evaluations of Aaron Alexis may have flagged his arrest and felony charges. While I understand the limitations of insider threat and counterintelligence programs, I also see the value in having such programs. Today, I also look forward to expanding the conversation to consider the role right to privacy plays in these programs in securing the country. Finding this balance is difficult, but today I hope to learn what the Department of Homeland Security is doing to advance their insider threat and counterintelligence programs. I look forward to the robust discussion with our witnesses today, and I yield back.
I thank the ranking member and any other members of the subcommittee, whether here or not, they may submit statements for the record. We're pleased to have a very distinguished panel of witnesses before us today on this vital topic, and all the witnesses remind their written testimony will be submitted for the record. And we will hear first from Under Secretary Frank Taylor. The Honorable Frank Taylor has served as the Under Secretary for Intelligence and Analysis and as the Chief Intelligence Officer for the Department since April 2014. Prior to joining DHS, Secretary Taylor served with great distinction in the U.S. military for 31 years, rising to the rank of Brigadier General. He's also served in numerous senior positions in the State Department, focused on counterterrorism and security of U.S. personnel, and he's also worked in the private sector. And most importantly, of course, he holds a bachelor's and master's degree from the University of Notre Dame. Go Irish. I now recognize General Taylor.
Thank you, Chairman King, Ranking Member Higgins. I would start with Go Irish in our, given our shared lineage with the University of Notre Dame. I want to thank you and the members of the committee for the opportunity to appear with my colleagues here today. The Department faces a range of threats from foreign intelligence services, non-state entities like terrorist groups and transnational criminal organizations, and insider threats. Based on overt intent, capabilities, and broad operational scope, Russia and China continue to be the leading state intelligence threats to the United States and our interests, including the Department of Homeland Security. Similar to foreign intelligence threats, terrorist groups and TCOs continue to enhance their human, technical, and cyber intelligence capabilities, recruiting human sources, conducting physical and technical surveillance of DHS operations. Additionally, we are very concerned that the threat from insiders disclosing sensitive U.S. government information will also continue. As the Department's counterintelligence executive, I am leading the implementation of the new National Counterintelligence Strategy and building out a unified Department counterintelligence program. I'm also the Department's Senior Information Sharing and Safeguarding Executive, responsible for overseeing all classified information safeguarding efforts in our department. We recently completed a classified assessment of foreign intelligence threats to the department and the broader Homeland Security enterprise. This will serve as our baseline assessment, and we will reevaluate this assessment every year to track trends and update it with significant changes in the CI threat environment. Thanks to congressional support, we've significantly enhanced our counterintelligence and threat programs. INA's Counterintelligence Division has department-wide responsibilities. Our objectives are to deepen our understanding of the external and internal threats, deter, detect, and disrupt these threats, safeguard sensitive information from exploitation, and to protect our nation's networks from foreign intelligence threats such as the disruption, exploitation, or theft of sensitive information, including personally identifiable information. We are embedding counterintelligence officers in each of the Department's operational components and within the Department's most at-risk headquarters components. We're also leveraging the existing resources like the U.S. Coast Guard Counterintelligence Service and are partnering with CI personnel from across the federal government to enhance the Department's CI program. These are just a few of the steps we are taking to meet these threats so the Department can continue its work securing the country and fulfilling our border security, immigration, travel security, and other homeland security missions. Our Insider Threat Program has made great progress implementing Executive Order 13587. For this fiscal year, our technical monitoring solution audited 33 million actions on our enterprise classified networks. Of these, 215,000 required manual review by our analysts, of which 72 required further investigation. During the previous 2 fiscal years, the Insider Threat Program also identified 162 violations and provided support to 15 counterintelligence and internal security investigations. Chairman King, Ranking Member Higgins, members of the committee, thank you again for the opportunity to appear before you to have this very important discussion. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, General. Thank you really for the outstanding job you've done and the dedication you've shown to this job. It really is very much appreciated. Colonel McComb was appointed to the position of Chief Security Officer for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security just over 3 months ago on April 3rd, 2016. Most recently, he served as the Director of the Leased Facilities Protection Directorate at the Pentagon Force Protection Agency. Colonel McComb served over 27 years in the United States Air Force as a security forces officer, from which he retired as a colonel. Privileged to have you here today, and you're recognized for your testimony.
Chairman King, Ranking Member Higgins, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony on the Department of Homeland Security's Insider Threat Program. I have the opportunity to lead the dedicated men and women who make up the Office of Chief Security Officer. My office is an element under the Department's Management Directorate, and I report to the Undersecretary for Management, Mr. Russ Dio. However, in my capacity as a senior insider threat official for the Department of Homeland Security,